Your story is waiting for you today. Your story has something new to say. But your story will only come out to play when you're alone. Alone. Alone in a room with invisible people.
The following episode may contain swearing. Alone in a Room with Invisible People is brought to you by hollyswritingclasses.com. Hi, I'm Rebecca Galardo, the host of Alone in a Room with Invisible People. I'm here with author and teacher Holly Lisle, and today's topic is living inside your story, connecting to your characters and fiction. So this topic sounds just awesome, amazing to me. But before we get to it, let's just talk real quickly about what we did this week.
Okay, it's been a very good week, and in the fashion of all of my weeks lately, it's been weird. So I got the lesson done for how to write a novel, and I'm very happy with what I got, and it's up. And I got my scene from Dead Man's Party, and cannibals and a zombie, and this is a post-apocalyptic. And now my muse has insisted that it's going to have to be in the tone or in the manner of Terry Pratchett or Douglas Adams. That
you mentioned that last week.
Yeah, so it has been kind of all over the place, but my muse is a dick. I'm just letting you know this right now, because my muse also said, you know what? We're doing that one thing, and then we're reading stuff and doing our noting for Emerald Sun. But we have 5 Patreon hours of writing fiction a week. 5. And you are not happy, says my muse, that you're not getting enough actual writing done because you're doing all of this backstory and all of this trying. Says, how about we add a 3rd book to the mix each week? So my muse wants to write the Wishbone Conspiracy now, along with doing the backstorying and the picking up the pieces from a series that I haven't read in 14 years.
For the Emerald Sun you're talking about?
Yeah.
No, because you were going to do a class and use that as a book, and I remember you were reading at least Ruby Key.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that was about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, but I haven't read the Wishbone, the Emerald Sun.
The Silver Door.
The Silver Door. I haven't read the Silver Door in
too many books
since I wrote it. So
wow.
Yeah. So there is a lot of digging through and finding things and trying to find the story to tell with that, which but I did do.
Yeah, the octopus map.
Thank you. Yes. Mine is going blank today. Still a little early. I haven't had my coffee yet. So yes, my octopus map for it, and I understand now the direction I have to take, the story, the basic overall story I need to tell. But now I have to find the pieces from the first 2 books to tie in to make that 3rd story live. So anyway, 3 books a week. I'm going to do 1 day of Dead Man's Party because, 1,515 words are better, and I'm doing those on video, and that's all coming together very nicely. But then 2 days of researching and backgrounding, and then 2 days of actually writing Wishbone Conspiracy, because I have the first chapter of that already written, and I know where that's going.
And just so people know, the Wishbone Conspiracy is part of the Settled World Space, and this is getting back to Cadence Drake.
Yes, this is the 3rd actual Cadence Drake novel, and it's been way longer than I had anticipated, and I am looking at the possibility of doing one of these a year until I finish the series. And I'm looking at the series as 10 books, and if I could do it faster than that, I might do that too. God, I love Katie.
I'm just surprised that you would stop at 10 and not just keep it going.
Well, I have other stuff that I want to write in Settled Space. I've got all of that Bailey's
That's
Irish
true.
Station stuff. And I have the City of Furies. And there are...
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. And
there's an infinite amount when you're in Settled Space. There's an infinite amount of stories that you can tell.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And, I want Katie to get... Now, if I do a 10-book series with her and then I come up with a different direction, I could do that too. But I have this series kind of, I know where I want to go with this. And it takes
Yeah.
10 books.
Yeah. Hey, that's great.
Yeah.
That's an extra 7 books that, I can look forward to, and I know I've got some friends that are enjoying it. So
Cool. And I'm seriously, I'm going to see. I want to get this done. I want to
Yeah.
finish this story, this big
arc
yeah.
that she has. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Anyway, that's me.
Oh, okay.
How about you?
Well, I had a really good week too. I got back to writing the second book in the Wanda Lucia series, and I felt really bad at first because I didn't hit my deadline of, finishing it by December 31st, the first draft, and
Yeah.
being able to say that I had finished 2 books in 2019. Like that was, or 2018, that was just this kind of really cool goal. But at the same time, that doesn't really matter so much.
Right.
What matters is still getting the words on paper or on page and still, getting the book done. It would have been nice to hit that, goal, but okay, I didn't get it, so what am I going to do about it?
Right. But you
Yeah.
did so many other things in the same year.
Yeah, and that was another thing too. I made the goal because I had originally felt like I didn't do enough, and I didn't achieve enough in that year. And then going back and doing a 2018 kind of review in my head, looking at all of the different projects that I had accomplished, all of the different art pieces, or, we started the podcast, and there's the book that I finished and actually submitted to a publisher.
Right.
And, there's so many different things that I actually achieved in 2018 that I am 100% okay with not having achieved, finishing a first draft. I mean, even just looking at the time that I spent with Tony, with the fact that I lost 50 pounds, just endlessly 2018, despite its downs, is a much appreciated and a year of growth for me. So, it when you put yourself out there on a kind of public forum and say, I want to achieve this goal, it does kind of suck if you don't get it done, but I'm not the type of person to harp on that or to stick on the fact that, a bunch of people saw me not achieve the goal. So I feel really happy that I'm not quite that kind of person. I've got so many other things that I ruminate on and I get stuck on in my head. I don't need an additional thing.
Yeah, I don't need that.
But yeah, but it would have been cool just to have, I wrote 2 books in 2018.
Yes.
But I can do that this year.
Right.
If I want.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's part of my thing is I'm going to make them a little shorter so that I can actually do them in a more reasonable amount of time, because 150,000 word book or 120,000 war paint.
You were
was
always
enormous.
shooting for about 100,000.
Yeah, and seriously, for the kind of stories that I want to tell for the rest of the Cadence Drake novel, or for the rest of the Cadence Drake series, I think I could probably do those in maybe 60,000 words and have them be tight and occasionally funny and frequently gross, is my want.
Well, that's going back through Hunting the Corgan's Blood. I always forget how gruesome it is, because you go in there and like even the first scene, it's really very gross, like the different details and stuff. It's like, gah. And then, there's another scene in there, not up yours, but it was like Smithbright world. There's a scene in that particular world that I was like, wow, okay, yeah, Mom's pretty vicious. So, but yeah, so I got my words every single day since I started. I was getting my word counts more than, which is great.
Yeah.
I had started off not knowing exactly where I needed to go, because of the issue I talked about last week, that there was this, that I took the book in the wrong direction for about 12,000 words. And it wasn't even like a direction where I could use your first initial thing, which was, okay, we'll just go back through, look at those chapters, write down what they were supposed to be, and go from there. The problem is, when I hit a depression, I took the book in a new direction because it was something that I could write. It was something new, and my muse was playing with it, and it was like I gave her something shiny, and that was it. And I veered off track, so much so that none of the chapters in there even remotely tied in to the story.
Yeah.
It was like your redheaded vixen that my friend Brian just is dying to read about. But
bitch.
It's, yeah. And I had my own little redheaded vixen in this tall, sexy African American bulky dude that was like that was kind of hitting on Angie, and it just went like way out of. I was like, Paul, dude, dial it back. we gotta chop you out or something. So his stuff I might use for another one, or I might not. He might not be the person I was thinking he was. I don't know. So I'm taking him all of those out, and basically I'm starting back from about 20,000, but now I don't even know where the hell I am. It's 24 or 25,000 words now, and I've got it. So my goal is to finish it hopefully by the end of January, just so I could get February and March to edit it, or to revise it, and then I'll have book 2. Hopefully I'll hear back from Harlequin one way or another whether or not they're going to publish it, and then I'll go from there.
Right.
But yeah, so that was my week. And are we ready to get back to the topic?
Yeah, I think so. So let me just start with a simple statement here, and then I want us to just kind of bounce this back and forth off of each other. Writing fiction changes the way you look at yourself. Disaster, tragedy, dumbass moves, all of the things in your life that you do right, that you do wrong, that you that you do.
Yeah.
Becomes fodder for your story. And I have a couple of basic stories about this, but I really, if you...
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see why people think that it's, or feel that it's partially therapy, because when you're writing about these things that have happened to you, even if you've changed them a lot, you tend to get this bird's eye view in a way. This kind of, at least for me, it's almost like I'm even up in the space or something. It's a weird way to look at it, but you get the idea of a grander picture, and you kind of can feel better about some of the things that have happened in a way, especially if it's stuff that you have, using this word again, ruminated on. When you put it on page, it seems to give you this kind of feeling of, depending on what it is, there's justification for what you're writing. So you feel maybe vindicated. You feel like justice has been done in a way. You feel like, okay, well, my opinion is there and it's strong and my convictions are there. And I feel like somebody else will feel this too. But a lot of times too, like, you start to feel braver. You start to realize that, hey, I really have been through a lot of shit, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not perfect, and I never will be, but I'm handling it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some of the things that you can put in your stories and in your books, if you're doing it right, you're putting yourself in there, and yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability there, but there's a lot of power inside of yourself that can be gained too.
Yes. That's, well, I've got a little story where my parents, we were stationed in Guatemala. My parents were Quaker missionaries there. They were lay missionaries. They were not ordained. My father was a financial guy, and my mother was running the guest house for the mission. And we had to go visit this other missionary family. And we had driven through a couple of countries, and this was, we went to Belize. And the trip back from that was where we got stopped by the guerrillas at gunpoint, and I got to look down the barrel of a machine gun. That was really entertaining at 15. Anyway.
And the kid that was holding the gun on you wasn't much older. I know you told this story on the episode, or one of the other episodes. I'll have to see if I can find it.
Right, yeah, it's in there somewhere, I know it. But we were, they were showing us around their place, which was basically right in the frickin' middle of a jungle in Belize. I mean, there were people, they were working with the local people, and they were what I think of as real missionaries. As opposed to what my parents were doing. But they decided they wanted to show us the jungle. And I had walked through some jungles in Costa Rica. We had climbed up the mountains in there and had gone up to look at the edge of a volcano. And it was nice. It was not anything like the woods back in Ohio, but it was kind of pleasant. Okay, so Belize and jungle, and there's a line of us walking single file along this path, and the path is curving like a snake and looping around and back and forth around these enormous trees with roots that reach up out of the ground, and that just, you look up and you cannot see the sky because the overstory is so complete that you can't see the sky. You can hear things moving. You can hear things clicking and hissing and growling. You can feel your skin starting to try to crawl off your body because there is this feeling that something is watching you, and you know it's right. You know that this hair on the back of your neck standing up. Holy shit, there is something out there, and you hear a little cough. Yeah, and you know from having watched Marlon Perkins on Wild Kingdom that's the sound that big cats make, and that you are a small creature, and that's a big cat, and somewhere, and you don't know where, and then you trip over one of those fucking roots and fall flat on your face, and when you look up, A, you can't see any people, B, you can't hear any people because the people are being goddamn quiet for some reason you cannot explain, and C, you don't know where the path is because there was a tree root, and you look up and you can't see anybody, you can't hear anybody, you are stuck in the middle of the jungle, you were the last moron in line, and you think, holy shit, I'm going to get eaten in here, I can die right here, right now. And then somebody said something ahead of me, and I kind of got my bearing, and I found the right way through because there was not really a path. These people lived there, so they knew where they were going, but animals leave little paths and trails and things too. And it all looked the same to me. So I found them, and I got there, and I got out. And that just kind of hung in the back of my mind until I wrote my second novel, which was Faya and
Bones of the Past.
Thank you. Yes, Bones of the Past. And I was, and some very, very scary trees in a very, very scary jungle are in that book. But it wasn't done with me, because then when I was writing Matron and I was writing the secret text and had my people running through jungles there, all of a sudden that damn jungle was back again, and that moment and that fear and that visceral stuff that does not ever go away. The second you start putting yourself into your fiction, you start sliding into your characters, you can smell the jungle again. You can feel it. You can feel the weight of those massive, massive trees. Trees that are so big that you cannot see around them, and that you cannot see the sky above you, and that you're in this kind of a twilight in the middle of the day. People are very excited about jungles. And, ooh, I love the jungle. I don't love the jungle. I don't ever want to be in a jungle again. That was some terrifying shit, man. Yes, keep them. Let people who want to go there, go there. Let people who want to live there, live there. Me? No, thank you. So my point there is that that was not disaster or tragedy. It was a bit of a dumbass move in falling down and not staying close enough to my people. But that the events in your life change the way you look at yourself. And I realized I had thought that I was this person who would love being in the wilderness. And I liked Alaska, I did. You could see a long way in Alaska. That turns out to be very important to me, being able to see a long way. Because there was shit that hunted us there, but that was different. It was much.
You felt safer.
I felt safer, yes.
Yeah.
But so everything that you experience becomes fodder for your story, and you don't understand when you're experiencing it how much of it you can bring back and how important it's going to be and how meaningful it's going to be to you to write it, because it was very therapeutic for me to write those people eating trees.
Yes.
And then to deal with them, because they were not just, yes, because they were not just people eating trees. This was bones of the past, and there were people eating trees in there, and my characters got to deal with them in a way that I couldn't, and that was nice. Okay, so the second thing is that writing fiction, the first thing here is that writing fiction changes the way you look at yourself. And it helped me, it did. It made me see that I got something valuable out of that. It allowed me to see myself as a little braver than I was at the time. Writing fiction changes the way you look at family, friends, and strangers. And this is kind of terrifying in that everybody you see becomes a potential character in a book.
Yep.
Everybody you love becomes a potential character in a book. Everybody who pisses you off in traffic becomes a potential character in a book. And as someone who set a scene in the mall, the biggest mall in South Florida, and then had I think it was dragons destroy the mall. I think. I don't remember. I know that this was in. Shit, I don't even remember the book's in now. But because it was so crowded and people were right up on your faces, and everybody gets in your face and tries to sell you things, and it was like being in the Central American market without the charm. And probably without the pickpockets too, but.
Yeah, probably not as many.
Yeah, so everybody around you that you love, that you hate, that just looks kind of interesting, and as you're watching them walk away, you're thinking, why is that person walking like that? And the voice in the back of your head says, ooh, that's a spy, or ooh, that person just stole something, or ooh. And you build up these stories, and these people show up in your books.
Yeah.
You know, where have you used real people? I mean, don't use names. Don't give names. But
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. But all of the places I worked, all of them, I have had plenty of fodder for my work. I have. It's actually it's hard to. I'm trying to figure out things without giving any examples that other people could possibly point out, but as a waitress too. Okay, so like I'll just take that just at one simple small example. In Leaving Wanda Lucia, there's a scene where the waitress is standing there and she's the main character is standing there and she's doing her job as a bartender, and she's mentions this one guy very briefly, that all bars or all, restaurants have a guy like this. He just comes in, he likes to sit and flirt, but, he wouldn't actually take you home. There was a guy that, there was actually 2 or 3 of them, but one in particular that would come in, talk to me all the time, flirt a lot, tell me about his hunting place in Georgia, because he had a 80-acre place where he would hunt.
Nice.
And yeah, and he would have like friends and family go with him or go up there without him. And he offered to bring me back like a gopher turtle, and I told him, that's illegal, and he's like, well, I won't tell if you don't, because I like turtles. Yeah. He was a really, really nice guy, and he asked, he'd ask like, oh, well, I know you're not single, so do you have an older sister, or how about your mom? How is she with somebody? And it's just, but he's the kind of guy that liked his life, liked his routine, had things that he really liked to do, and wouldn't have wanted a relationship with somebody necessarily unless he found them, hunting, and they were very independent and didn't want to encroach on his shit, And the other two guys that I'm thinking about, one of them was very attached to this other waitress. If it was her birthday, Christmas, or there was one other day, he would leave her $100 tip, and that was for her.
Wow.
And all the rest of the time, yeah. And one time I was really helpful for her, like just helping her out because we were slammed, and he ended up leaving me a 20 as an appreciation for me being so good with her. And in the small area that I worked in, that very small restaurant, where you had a lot of locals and regulars, especially with that dude that he came every single day, he would leave $1 or $2, or maybe $5 here and there. You don't typically get tips like that from regulars.
Right.
So anyway, the point is, like, he got put in, I almost said his name, the guy that had the hunting spot and would always talk to me and flirt with me. That guy got put in that book because I really liked him, and he was just a cool guy. But I know that, having worked in other areas and stuff, there are guys like that. If you have a small town, especially, or a small area in a bigger city with a smaller, restaurant or business with lower priced foods, you're going to get regulars, right. Daily regulars. And that's kind of one of the characters that shows up.
Yeah, it's a lot of it, I think, and a lot of the richness that we can pull from our own interactions with other people comes from the communities that we build, the communities that we interact with. There's a place, there's a restaurant that we go to, and I won't name names, but we are relative regulars. They all wave when we walk in the door. We know all the waitresses. We know the cooks because the cooks cook in front of everybody. They have those little wraparound, and they're right there in the middle of the restaurant. And we know the owner is famous, so we don't know him, but he has waved to us on occasion. And the managers we know, and we love this place, and we go in. We always leave a really good tip for whichever of the girls is waiting on us. And these people at the point where I have a place for them, all of them.
Yeah,
in a book.
Yeah, see, that's what's really cool, is that when something strikes you hard enough, whether it's a good or a bad strike, you have a place for it in your writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know where it's going to go. Like, I was writing, and I'll just make this real quick because I know we've got more points to make. But I was writing this zombie series a long time ago, and I plan on bringing that back and working on that as part of the thing that I was talking to you about. But I had I had places that I specifically tore down, or would have the characters pass and go through or go in, and specific houses from specific people didn't make it, and there were bodies found, or and I am not a violent person.
Right, in real life,
my brother, my little brother, not my baby brother Joe, is perfect, but my middle brother Mark might say that I'm very violent, but I'm not. But yeah, it's cool that, because I said it in South Florida. So the one place in a high building that I worked at that was a bunch of BS, that place got just wrecked. But you have these plans for places and ways of showing your appreciation or your vengeance as a writer, and it's a lot of fun.
It is. It allows you to view your past with a somewhat less jaundiced eye, because at any point you can think, hey, that's all right, because yeah, you did that, but I'm going to get paid because you did that.
Yeah. Anytime somebody's a dick, anytime somebody betrays you or says you're family and then turns around and stabs you in the back for no reason, or for no reason that you could see, you're hurt at first, but then you realize, hey, you know what? I'm just going to use that basic principle in my next book or my next story. And you might not pay for what you did, but I'll be getting paid for it.
Yes, exactly. That's just it. And writing fiction changes the way you look at family, friends, and strangers. Okay? Now, writing fiction also changes the way you look at the world. And this is, no matter how crappy things might be in the world, and you can look at this from the standpoint of someone who is religious, someone who is political, someone who is, what are the other things? What are the other hot buttons from a gender perspective?
Well, there's philosophy.
Yeah,
You've got so many different philosophies.
From a philosophical philosophy, yeah, that's right. From a philosophical perspective, you can look at this as you can look at the whole world and all the crap that's going in it, and just realize that as an individual, there is really very little you can do. But as a writer, you can put what you see into your fiction in a way that is meaningful to you. And even if you cannot change a political climate or a religious injustice or a racial struggle or a gender conflict or conflicts between countries or whatever, or environmental issues that matter to you or just whatever. If you cannot, as a single person, change these things, there's very little that one person physically can do. But you can pull what matters to you into your story. All of my stories I'm not religious. I am not political. I disagree with everybody on everything where politics is concerned, except maybe from the libertarian perspective. I will give them individual rights are the basis upon which a civilization, the only basis upon which a civilization can be built. And that is my entire political ball of wax right there. Individual rights are the entire basis upon which a civilization can be built. And that's what's in my stories. Just, that, and my people focus on that's one of my big issues. Racial injustice is a big issue of mine. Gender issues are big issues of mine. I try to show what I have seen in the world, and my background has been really useful for this. In that I had gay relatives who were out within the family. We have lived with where I was the only white kid in a number of different schools and the only English speaker. Or the only original English speaker, where I have been a minority of one in a vast sea of everybody else. And that has been really useful as a perspective for a writer, to be that person, to be the person who is different than everybody else around you.
It's also being a white woman in America. It's also a unique perspective to have, because the majority of white women in America, and I'm not saying no white woman in America other than you. It's obviously there are many that have had this experience, but the majority of them don't have it. So they don't have that other side perspective.
Right. And it is a useful perspective to have, to understand that you are not, no matter who you are not in the majority. You are everybody. Because you are an individual, you are a minority of one. And there is something about you that other people that you otherwise like would really dislike, no matter who you are, because everybody has all of these. We're unique. We're unique,
Yeah.
and nobody is a perfect match for anybody else. Nobody is. It doesn't happen. So it's even among the closest people that you are, that matter to you in your life, you are going to have these areas of conflict, and that is fiction fodder. But it's the whole world is your oyster. You get to use everything. You just have to figure out why it matters to you personally as an individual. And you've got some stories with this. You know.
Well, I mean, it's just this was something that I struggled with for a while because I thought it was bigger than it was. Like the why does it matter question. It always confused me because I was trying to figure out, well, why does it matter to the reader? Why should they care? Well, I don't know, because I'm writing it and they're reading it. But when you sit down to actually write something, finding out what matters to you isn't hard. And you just have to remember why it matters to you when you're writing it and make it matter to the characters. And the right people reading it, it'll matter to them too. And it's like I'm trying to think of a story other than Leaving Wanda Lucia because I keep using that. But the different things that mattered in there was just the animal rescue, obviously, because if anybody follows me on like my personal Instagram or Facebook or people that are my friends, they, especially my Instagram, it's like 80% cats, and I try not to make it that, but it's like 80% cats and my rescue dogs, and all of our animals except for my husband's Chia Pom, they're all rescues, and every single animal I have ever had personally, my pet, was rescues, and the majority of our cats that you had were rescues,
including your two face hugger cats.
yes I think Ollie really is the only face hugger. Thea just jumps on me randomly and then just lays there, and she's just so not right mentally, but that's fine. But yeah, so it's like a lot of that, the animal rescue. But one thing that I found, sometimes what matters to you and the things that you feel will pop up unexpectedly in your writing, and you go with it, especially during revision if you find it, and you're like, well, this thread is important to me, so I want to keep it going, which is another good thing to do an octopus map on, to find the different threads that matter to you. But the social injustice of the sharing everything from just your side and people following it and believing you. And so taking, for instance, let's just say two people that have a lot of followers break up and one follower posts something, because that's basically what kind of happened in Leaving Wanda Lucia. One person posts their sob story and how they were so wronged and this and that. And of course they have all of these followers, and it's basically a sociopath lying about what had happened in the relationship. Well, all of these people believe it, and all of these people that maybe they both know are following him and believing him, and can't believe she would do these things and this and that. And you're getting all of these people involved in your private affairs, and then you don't know both sides of the story. So as a person, you're sitting there judging this social media post that is BS. And then the other side of the story from the person who's more private and is trying to escape something, they don't have their chance. So that popped up, was not something that I had ever intended to have in the book, but it popped up. Yeah. And then the fear of viral attention from somebody, because I see all of these posts of people having a bad day, or of people having a bad moment, or people being treated poorly, and then, you know, maybe it's just been a bad year, a bad everything, and everybody's just, he doesn't know what he's going to do necessarily, or she, you know, about they can't pay their bills. You don't know what's going on in that person's life to have them snap and then have just this 30-second to 3-minute video of them cracking in the worst possible moment. And then that goes viral, and millions of people are seeing it and judging you and hating you. And then it kind of ruins your life.
Yeah.
You know, so those things kind of pop up in a very low level in the book, but they were something that mattered to me, that I knew mattered to me, but I didn't realize this was a story that was going to have that in there.
Yeah. Oh man, as you were telling that, I was thinking about your biological father and how, oh my God, I am so grateful.
Could have gotten justice though if that had gone viral.
Oh my, well, no, but see, the thing is, the lead up to that.
He was a sociopath.
Yes. Yeah. But the lead up to that was that he was was telling you guys that you could, request to not see me anymore when you were 12.
That we could choose the parent to live with, and that you were horrible, and there was all of these lies that he was telling about you. Yeah, so if there was social media, he would have been this huge victim. And of course he was a sociopath, and everybody thought he was so charming and nice. They would have all friended him. Mm-hmm. So he would have had thousands of Facebook friends.
Right. And he would have just, oh my God, he would have really eaten that up. And I was already the Yankee outsider in a small southern town.
Yeah, and the problem with that too is that officials look at Facebook stuff. They now see that as part. It's just like your you don't want to post crazy shit on your Facebook page if you have a public Facebook page and you are also a public representative for a company, or you want to go work somewhere, because now many businesses are looking at people's Facebook page to see if they're the type of person they want to hire. So it's something else that people also, they tell you, don't post stuff about your accident if you're in a car accident. Don't post stuff about the ex if you're in a divorce, because they use your social media nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would have made things so much harder, because I don't use social media.
Nope, but he would have. And he, especially if this had been around in your 30s, your late 20s, early 30s, he would have been all over this, and it would have been, the attention that he sought after, he would have gotten it.
Yeah. And boy, at the point where Mark came to me and told me what was going on, that might never have been able to happen.
Yeah.
Because of social media.
Who knows what would have happened with social media? And social media is a good thing in many ways, and that's what I put in the book. I specifically have it being a good thing for another character, and even for the main character in small ways. But I also point out the dangers. And again, that was not something that I realized was going to go in there. Mm-hmm. But to put back on the point, it's something that did matter to me, and I found a way. My muse found a way to put it in the book.
Right, and that is
something on my mind.
A whole world issue now, social media.
Yeah,
and that's that is a perfect example of that. So again, the point on that was writing fiction changes the way you look at the world, and it pays to actually look at the world and to form opinions about what's going on. And you may
form
find
educated opinions.
Do what?
Form educated opinions.
Educated opinions. But I have found even in real life that your opinions change over time and with experience. When I was 19, I was a registered Republican. When I was 25, I was a registered Democrat. I am a registered voter now. The simplicity or the fact that you are going to have strong opinions now, and you're going to find out as you get go through life that you were wrong about things. And you were wrong about things in really big ways. And you took passionate stands about stuff that turns out not to be the most brilliant things that have ever come out of your mouth. This is going to happen. This is just part of life. So you don't ever want to go negative, because that will come back and bite you in the ass. You can think really, really negative thoughts, but I don't recommend putting those into your books. I don't recommend any sort of attack stuff, and I'm very grateful that I never did anything like that. But life will change you, and it will change you hard and in mean and vicious ways, and will slap you around every opinion you ever held, and make you the ones that you end up with, you will have earned. The ones that stick with you, the principles that hold true over time, will come through in the end, and your writing will winnow down into these smaller, tighter core principles. And I think you tend to shoot a lot wider when you're just getting started. You have a lot more stuff in there that you're going to find out later it doesn't really matter so much to you. But that, too, is part of having life burn a lot of the shit out of you.
Well, I think there's also a lot of good that happens to people, and a lot of good experiences that changes them for the better. And that kind of also puts in perspective a lot of the things that might not matter so much anymore.
Yeah, Matt changed everything for me. So your story intersects with your life. And the funny thing about this is there's some of it that you're going to realize. And then there is some of it that is going to sneak onto the page that you don't realize in first draft. You don't realize that you are writing about this thing in your past. I did not consciously, when I was writing the people eating tree scene in Bones of the Past, I was not consciously pulling from that experience in the jungle. And I was when I was writing Matron. I knew about that. But in Arhel, no. And then it was the scene that I was reading it out loud to the writers group. And I was watching everybody scooting forward in their chairs and leaning forward. And there you could have heard a pin drop in there as I was reading right to the end of that scene. And I could see people not breathing as I was writing to the end of that scene. And I read the last line. And everybody burst out laughing, and they were like leaning back, and it was this enormous relief. And that was when I knew that I nailed it. But that was also when I thought, oh my God, I was actually there. And that's why I knew. That's why I was in that jungle personally a bunch of years ago in my life. And that's why that scene worked. And there was an immediate click because of the feedback that I got on that one scene, where I not only knew how that scene had worked, but knew where it had come from finally. But it wasn't while I was writing it. I didn't know that was in there while I was writing it. And watching the reaction.
That's really cool.
Oh, it was fucking awesome. I miss Schrodinger's Pet Shop. Yes. It invades your downtime. Your writing will invade your downtime. And this is the wake you up in the middle of the night thing. Do you have anything where your writing has just kind of grabbed you?
Oh yeah. It can be any time. Like I'll be writing with my husband somewhere or going somewhere, or we'll be standing in, at a supermarket trying to pick something out. And I think about so like we had a flash flood the other week, and I walked out to let Maggie outside, and immediately it came into my head, I need to have a flash flood in the second part. And just immediately everything hit my head. I knew how I was going to use it. I knew what kind of conflict it was going to cause. I knew what kind of issues that both of the main characters were going to have, and the villain. And I just started thinking about it, and I'm like, I had to remember to get Maggie inside because I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, I need to go do this now. And but I've been sitting there knitting with Tony, and I'll watch him, and he'll say something, and something will happen when he's playing his destiny and it doesn't have anything to do with anything, and it pops in my head exactly what I need to do. Or, I mean, it's anytime, anywhere. I've woken up, and it's happened to me with art too. Like, I've woken up knowing this painting that I want to do. Like, I need to how to do it. Or like, I'll wake up with the answer to a conflict issue. It's just,
Yeah.
like you said, it invades your downtime. It like, I've thought of whole stories while driving, you know?
Yes. Yes, that's okay, so I'm going to say the next one is it talks to you in your sleep. And my example for that was around the end of October, a bunch of years ago now. And a few years after my first publisher, Jim Bain, had died, I had this dream in which Jim Bain came to me and through an intermediary told me the basic outline of a book that if I wrote it, it would be huge. And I tried to ask him something, and when I did, he couldn't talk, but the intermediary could talk. But when I asked him my question, he disappeared, and I woke up. And then I ran the idea through my head, because usually when you've had a dream and you run the idea through your head, it is the story idea turns out to be banana monkey cookie chocolate, and you go, yeah, that's not going to work. But this was a real goddamn good idea. This was a magnificent idea, and I had my laptop lying on the floor next to the bed for reasons unknown, and I grabbed it and popped it on my lap and started writing. And I wrote out the idea for it right there, right then. And it is the story still provisionally titled Dreaming the Dead, because I had never dreamt the dead before. I had never had a dream of someone who was dead telling me something, ever. And I have never had one since. So that's just a provisional working title for the book, and it's one of the things that I want to do. And with my new concept of doing 3 books at the same time, which I did blog on, so this is on my blog if you want to take a look. This is one of the books that I will be getting to in my process of doing the book that I'm writing, the book that I'm outlining and planning, and the book that I'm conceptualizing. And it's just, this is something that happens. Your dreams can give you genuinely good stuff just out of fucking nowhere. It was amazing. Okay, so the next one is that it will pull details from your existing work. That you'll be working on your 17th book. Okay, let's just put this in the future a little bit. Or for some of you in the past, you're going to be working on book number 17. And all of a sudden you are going to remember something that you had, that you kind of ran up the flagpole 15 years ago, and it's still sitting in text form on your hard drive. And you go in and you look at this and you go, wow, I know what I could do with that now. And as someone who has been going through my hard drive lately, I can say that there's stuff in there that I wrote off as being stupid back when I wrote it, and I wrote like a chapter or 2, and said, I don't think so. And I went back and read it and went, ooh, wait a minute, no, if I did this and this and this, I could actually write that. Holy shit. And that's what I really need right now, is more stuff to write. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But then it's in there. And this stuff that you put on the hard drive that doesn't go someplace, don't throw it out. Because, my God, you don't know what kind of little gemstones can be in the middle of a big pile of crap. And you might have to winnow out some crap. You might have to get out the hose and wash off the horse poo. Before you can actually see the good stuff that's left in the middle. And, but a lot of times there's going to be some good stuff in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Have you found anything like this on your hard drive?
Yeah, I found a couple. So when I was writing romance and erotica and stuff, I kind of went through just to see if I had, because I'm always writing down ideas. Always. I have notebooks and notebooks from even back when I was a waitress and stuff, where I would just jot down ideas, and I was going back through them just to see what else I had, just to compile them and get them all together. And I found some really bad teenage stupid romance story ideas, but then I found some really good stuff. And I have this one story that I found that was real. I was like, did I write this? Did somebody else write this? Because this is really good. Like, I need to change some of it, but it's like, I have to keep this going.
Yeah. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, I've got a screenplay that I remember writing. It's actually just the first few pages, and I have the story outline. And I remember writing it. It was when we first got here, and I was like, this is not good enough. I'll put it aside for later, for when I'm a better writer and I can do it. And I pulled it out last year when I was trying to get everything organized and put my stuff in so I could figure out what I wanted to work on next. Mm-hmm. And I pulled that script out and I read it, and I was hooked. And I was like, I thought this was bad. It was tight. It was good. It was different. And I fucking love the idea, and I still want to go back and I still want to write it. And I already know the ending.
Wow.
And it's kind of poetic, and it was really, really well done, and I'm excited about that one too.
Yeah.
But finding it was really nice. I do want to go back and read Take a Chance on Me, which unfortunately has absolutely not going to win the which book do you want me to do for how to revise your novel.
No. It has been.
Yeah, there's no chance in hell unless you suddenly get 45 people that are like obsessed with romances and want to see that one done to just go in there and click vote, because that one's dead. But I do want to go back and read that and see if there's anything good in there, how salvageable it is. I'm excited about doing that.
Yeah, well, you have the book, so you can still go back and revise that.
Oh yeah, I will. It's just a matter of time, especially since every freaking body wants Glass House done. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at poor little Take a Chance on Me, like,
yes, but Glass House is your career
even the name
now.
Yeah, Glass House is, but even the name says Take a Chance on Me, people. You couldn't have clicked on it. I don't know, but yeah, Glass House is the one I'm most excited about. But I have about 100,000 words of Take a Chance on Me done, and I think it's like 90,000. I don't know how many words it is, but it's like so close to being done, and I feel like I really want to get in there and see how much of it I can salvage and see if I can put it up for sale.
Well, you can do that.
Yeah, but not until after I've done Glass House, because that's the one everybody wants.
Right. Yes, and my cover art.
Yes.
Becky is.
Well,
yeah,
Becky's
art doing my cover art for the Cadence Drake series now. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do some re-releases of those, and right now they've got spaceships on the covers, and they're not. They're going to have Katie on the covers, and I am.
Yes, finally, really... and hopefully I can do Katie justice that she deserves, because nobody has ever gotten her right.
Yeah, she's a tough face. She is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's Mary's child, and that's very different.
Right.
If you haven't read the book, definitely, we have to get it soon.
Yeah.
But hopefully with my new cover on your book.
Yes. Yes. Well,
I've got people that are already saying they want to pre-order it with both of our signatures.
Oh, that would be good. God, I wish we had a way to do that.
We do. I'll order them, and then I can have them shipped to you, and then you can sign them and then ship them to me, and then I can send them out.
Yeah, well, that's double shipping, so that's going to definitely add to the cost of the book. So, that might have to wait a little while, guys. Okay, so the last one, and this one is personal for me, is you're writing and your stories and your character and stuff will invade your shower. And I can be standing in the middle of the shower and the water is running on my head, and a character or a story will appear, or the solution to a problem that I was having with the story, or a new direction that I could take that would fix something that I broke and knew that I broke. And I never had this with baths. So
No.
yeah,
It's something about the shower, yeah.
there is something about having water running on your head in the shower. For me, that just is like this direct connection to my muse. It bypasses the whole activities of daily living thing. It bypasses thinking about finances. It bypasses being annoyed with myself that I haven't been practicing the guitar. It's just all of a sudden story idea, all of a sudden story solution. And more often than not, it's not a new idea. It is a solution to a problem that I've been having with a story that I have not been able to figure out. And I'll be standing in the shower and bam, it will be, the answer will be there and it'll work. And yeah, that's, you sound like you might have experienced this.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. The shower, I honestly don't know. Like, Tony will play music when he's in the shower. And I've done it a couple of times where I've listened to podcasts or something, because he has a Bluetooth speaker now that he got from Wish for a couple bucks that goes, it's got a silicone thing and it pops on the wall of the shower. But I don't do that because it wrecks that time to when your muse can come in. And sometimes the music actually can help it a little bit, but for the most part, I just like being in the shower. I'll even turn off the lights. Like, my preferred thing was I would turn on the closet light in our bathroom, the master closet, and turn off the bathroom light, because it kind of gives that setting of I don't know what it is, but it gives the right mood for my muse to just pop out and tell me a story idea. And it was really good for the romance, for the shorts, because that's where Taking Maggie came from. That's where a couple of my ideas have come from, especially if I'm working on something spookier. I would, like during Glass House, trying to put the idea together, trying to put scenes together, trying to put characters together. That setting always helped. The lights off and the shower going, and it was just perfect for me. And the other thing is driving. If I am driving, it invades my thoughts. Like, I'll have ideas. Obviously, I still pay attention. But if I get an idea coming through, I turn off the radio and I immediately, or Pandora, I don't listen to the radio. But I have all of this different ideas that come in. And it seems to be, if you can't write something down, that's when the ideas pop up.
Yeah. Yeah, it really. So this is very true. So it really, really helps if your office is 5 steps from your shower, as mine is.
Yeah, mine is too. Like, literally, I get out of the shower and it's about 5 steps from the shower to that little sitting room.
Yeah, if the commute is really, really short, this is a very helpful thing.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at here is that you are going to connect in unusual ways and at unusual times with your characters, your plots, your conflicts, your settings, with everything that and you pull out of these, and you can actually kind of set yourself up so that if you are having a problem with one of these specific things, you can find one of these ways of living inside of your story that will allow you to fix. If you have a character problem and you know that the shower trick works for you, you can just kind of relax and just have in the back of your mind, well, Muse, it would be really helpful if you could give me a little bit of help with this character. And then, take a shower.
Or you can go to sleep too. Sometimes that works, and then you'll wake up with the solution.
Yes. One of the things that I have routinely done when I have been having with a problem with the book is I will think about the problem as I am falling asleep. And very often, not always, but very often, I will wake up with the solution, and the solution will be a good one. I mean, nothing quite of the extreme nature of Dreaming the Dead, which was just astounding. And it was a fully fledged idea that did not include bananas or cookies anywhere in it. It was just there, and but you can help this process along. You can find the ways that you connect with your story, and then put yourself in the path of having the story come to you. Kind of like if you know that there are things that keep you away from your story, like if you know that there are activities that really, really screw up your writing. For me, it would be watching television or news or reading news articles or anything like that. Then don't do that. Don't put yourself in the path of the stuff that screws up your writing. Put yourself instead, stand in the middle of the river of ideas, and then think about your character, think about your plot, think about the fact that you worked your character into a corner and he's stuck, and the only thing you can think of now is that now he's going to die. And then you just say, okay, Muse, help me out here. And then you do the thing, like for me, knitting, taking a shower, various other, small activities that it used to be folding laundry. Folding laundry used to be the most amazing idea generator that I would have. There's something about clothes that are clean and warm and smell nice that you're folding, and that all of a sudden the back of your mind says, oh, and by the way, you can do this and do that and do that and do that, and it'll fix your problem. And so,
Yeah, cleaning the house for me is one. Like, especially with reorganizing or minimizing or anything. I don't know why, but I actually genuinely like to clean, and I like to organize and minimize. And it part of, like, especially if I can get some music going that actually motivates me, it's not long before I have some kind of idea. And one thing I wanted to say too is with the connecting to your story, connecting to your characters, if you're connecting well, but you feel it's the wrong direction, keep writing it. It's first draft. You don't know if you're going to end up using it. You might end up using it in another area in the book, but if you are connecting really well to something, or if you realize that this story, this element of the story might not be appropriate for what you're doing, just put it in there anyway. It's just first draft.
Yeah.
You can always take it out. You can always use it later, some other story, some other part of the story. Don't shut that down, because you need the momentum sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes that connection can open up other connections that you can use in the future.
Right.
I had a couple of moments of really good connections with the 12,000 words that I subsequently have cut. But
yeah, you're going to use that character, right?
Yeah, I'm probably... I was thinking about it. I'm changing that character slightly, because I still need this other person, but I liked what I wrote so much that I want him to have his own book, and still in the Wanda Lucia series. But the thing is that when I was writing that, while there was nothing that moved this story forward, I made a couple connections while connecting to that one character out of the blue. The character that wasn't even supposed to be in the book. Very out of the blue, but I made connections to this book through him that I can now use. And if I hadn't gone 12,000 words out of my way to connect with this one character, I wouldn't have gotten some things that I feel are very significant for this book.
Yeah.
And have really completely changed the way that I am writing the book, because the original villain is no longer the villain.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. And it really struck me as the way to point out something that has meant to me for a long time, and the original villain, it bothered me in some areas. So I like using this new thing. And if I hadn't written that extra 12,000 words that brought me out of the way, that didn't move this story forward at all, I would not have come up with this very new concept with very different connections that I, have made and am enjoying now.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. You cannot break first draft. This took
because it's already broken, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the
yes.
That's the point.
First draft by nature is going to be a screwed up wreck. And now there are some people who do very, very clean first drafts, and I have on occasion done a clean first draft. But the general process for me is to write through, make a lot of mistakes, change things on the fly as I'm going, keep pushing forward, hit the ending, and then go back and read through, figure out the story I was trying to tell, or figure out, because I don't know the story I'm trying to tell, the truth of it, the depth of it, and what matters about it until I write the ending. At which point, once you know the ending, you know what the beginning is supposed to be, and you go back and you fix all that stuff. But you can find so much other stuff that you went in wrong directions on that's still good stuff, and that might be perfect for another book. Or so don't throw stuff away, man. Yeah, you are absolutely right on that. That's and
don't stop yourself.
Right, and don't stop yourself. Because every once in a while, and you think after you've written as many books as I have, you would know this, but every once in a while, you will forget this. And I bailed on not one, but two different books. One was Talismana, the other was Dreaming the Dead, in which, with both of these, I was running through and I was going off in a lot of wrong directions. And instead of keeping going, I stopped. And it was because I forgot about the provisional outline, which is, lesson 19 in How to Write a Novel now. I just finished doing the lesson. I think it's 19. I had forgotten that technique, completely forgotten it. And it is, if you know you have screwed up something in the middle, it's how you keep going. And I just forgot.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that one because you told me about that one after I told you that I messed up the 12,000 words. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, you need to download this. So as soon as that one pops up, I'm looking forward to that. But
well, you get Mom Bennies. I can just email it to you.
Woohoo! That's pretty awesome. The Talismana thing, I don't even think you had an outline for that. That was all pantsing, right?
Right. That was me pantsing a novel.
So you being able to do that technique of the provisional outline would have probably really saved that.
Oh yeah, well that's what the provisional outline is. It's a thing you write on the fly where every time you screw up badly, you go back through your little provisional outline and you fix the stuff in what you have already written in your head. You don't fix it in real life.
Okay, so this is really cool. So this is kind of helping you out with your how to or the revision down the road.
Yes.
I mean, this is because I'm looking at how to revise your novel again and thinking about this, and I'm like, God damn, that would have fucking helped.
Yes, but Dead Man's Party has shifted 4 times on me now. It has shifted from this kind of light, simple story about an AI in love with a guy after some sort of a technological crash. Not a big deal. And then it became post-apocalyptic. And then it became post-apocalyptic, but 10 years after the fact, so that, things were not that bad anymore. The stuff was coming back. Then it became post-apocalyptic 2 years after the fact when we are deep in the shit and there are zombies and cannibals. Yes. And then, fourth change, it became, now you've got to write it funny. Not just funny. Now you've got to write it Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams funny. Because my muse is no piker.
That's hard.
Oh my God, yes. My muse is no piker with its demands, man. It's coming right in there. It's going, Yeah, all right. You think you got this? Watch this. This is what I want you to do now, bitch.
Pain in the ass muse.
Yes. Yes, my muse is rough, man. It's so this provisional outline has allowed me to roll with those changes without going back and changing anything.
So is there another one that we need to get to?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, there are a couple of things. Yeah. Everything, first off, so you're going to use these various little what works for you techniques and put you in the path of your muse being able to talk to you so that you can get your characters, your plot, your conflicts, your settings. Then you have to realize that your editor is going to tell you things are trite that are not trite, because everything is new, strange, and different to someone. The things that are normal in your life, let's say you live in small town middle America, or you live in Manhattan, and everything around you feels like something that is ordinary, that there is nothing spectacular about it, nothing different, nothing that would interest anyone. Understand that if you are living in a small town and you are writing about everybody knowing everybody else and being in everybody else's pockets and gossiping about in this tight little area where one thing gets to everyone and then everyone treats someone differently because of one rumor that turns out not to be true. That is a completely different life experience that someone who lives in a big city will never have. If you're living in a big city and all you see is strangers 99.99% of the time, and you have this tight little group of people that are spread out at a distance, and you have to commute to get to visit each other, and there is a sense of isolation, you are experiencing something that most people in the world don't know. And this is the truth for everybody. Your life is unique and nobody else has a life like it. So what matters to you, what you experience, what you see and feel and fear and desire and know as the truth of your own life, as how the world works around you, is not the way it works around everybody else. So you can just pull from your own life and live inside your own world, live inside your own story, and that will be unique to almost everybody. There will be a few people, your next door neighbor will probably say, oh yeah, you just wrote about this place. And what's special about it? Okay, but to everybody else, to everybody who doesn't live next door to you, you are living on an alien planet, and you can pull from it at will. Just don't use any real names. Very important.
Yeah, it's like the biker thing that you had mentioned before. Yeah. I'm writing about this poker run in the Leaving Wanda Lucia, and all my bikers, if they read it, they'd be like, okay, it's a poker run, and for them, it's like when they're reading this, like, all right, I know what happens during a poker run, but for the most, I'm assuming here. I mean, there's a lot of women that read those motorcycle romance novels, so some of them might read it and they're like, yeah, all right, well, I've already read about this. But a lot of the people reading my book might never have any kind of contact with that world. Maybe they've never even seen Sons of Anarchy, which
right. Well, that was
one percenter is completely different than the 99.999% of everybody else who rides the motorcycle.
Right. Yeah. So, well, I've never seen the show, the Sons of Anarchy.
It's a one percenter. It's an outlaw motorcycle gang.
Right.
Even that experience would be different than everybody else riding motorcycles.
Right. And I was completely unaware. I had no idea what a motorcycle run was. I am unfamiliar with motorcycle clubs. And so all of this was new stuff to me. My experience with motorcycles was riding behind my grandmother on her, Indian Chief, I think it was. Yeah. Back when I was 9 or 11, somewhere around there. Yeah. And getting to wear the helmet and ride behind her, and she was in her mid-50s at the time, I think. My grandma kicked ass. She was awesome.
Yeah.
I wish you could have met her.
Yeah, well, I think I have a picture of us sitting on a couch together.
Well, yeah, you
and
met
I
her when
was-
you were little.
Yeah, but I was so little and I didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was that 5 Generations picture.
And when you're that little, you don't appreciate people as well.
Yeah.
But I'll have to show you the picture I found. That one just had you, me, her, and Mark.
Okay, I have one with all 5 generations. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, my
Yep.
mother, me, and you.
I think that's one of the ones that I sent you, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that one I had to give you. But this one I just found. But it's like you're talking about, and just the fact that you said motorcycle club, most don't even go by that, because motorcycle club is a dangerous term.
Oh.
So yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because yeah. It's like how you design your patches on the back of your vest. Just the design of the back patches is a language in and of itself.
Really?
The patches that you wear on the front and the sides and the pockets, all of those are a language. I can, and I'm not even that well versed, but I can look at somebody and their vest itself tells me about them before I ever meet them. So
So this is like freaking gypsy culture and leaving or
yeah, it is a culture all by itself. It is definitely a subculture that it is very complex, and there's a lot of history with just how short of a time period there is within the motorcycle world.
This is so cool.
Yeah, a lot of people call it motorcycle associations. Like that's one of the ones that I am with. That I know, a lot of people in is a CVMA, which is Combat Veteran Motorcycle Association. The term motorcycle club, a lot of times, especially with law enforcement, they start looking at you a lot differently, because that is veering towards the 1%ers. That is veering towards an outlaw gang.
All right. So
Yeah.
motorcycle association is the appropriate term for your guys.
Or riding club.
Riding
club would be
okay.
more like me and Tony.
See, that's what I would want to call it, a writers group, because then it would be
riders.
a writers group, exactly.
Dork.
Because then it would sound like a writers group, and then you could be both.
Yeah, we could get a whole bunch of writers together, and it's a riding club.
It could be a writers club group.
Yeah.
Group.
Yeah.
And,
Or club. You can say club.
okay.
on that.
Anyway, to get us back on topic, so there are all of those things. Okay. The next thing, so that was everything is new, strange, and different to someone, and we found a little extra cool.
Yeah, that's
shit
a
in
good
there.
example there.
It really was, yes. And then the last thing here, as my point, is while you're doing this, while you are living in your story, don't talk out your story. I know tons of people who do this, who will have this story idea, and then they will get all excited about their story idea, and so they will tell their story idea to a bunch of people, and then they don't write it.
Yeah, nothing ever becomes of it.
Yeah, and this is a process where your muse has something that it wants to present, and it is excited about it, and it is perfectly willing to use any form available to get the story out. And this is like taking a glass of water and pouring it onto a table. It will find the low point, and it will run out the low point, and then it will be gone. So if you tell somebody the story you want to write, you have poured the water out on the table, and it has run through your verbal description, and the need to write it is gone.
It dies.
It dies. It's just gone. It evaporates. It has fallen off the table. It is on the floor. It's gone. So don't talk about your story. This is also, don't blog about your story. I will give little hints and stuff, but I never talk about the actual story. Because
I don't even do it in the forums.
No.
And it's not about somebody stealing your idea. It's about you still need to keep that idea to yourself until you're done.
Because because your muse is content The second it has told the story, it's content. That's done. It's done with that story. And it doesn't need to get it out anymore. And you, as the writer, need to have your muse need to get that out. And then you need to be the evil bitch or evil bastard who won't let it unless it gives you words and makes your fingers move. And this is hard.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, but if you can keep it in your head that I mean, if you have an example, a personal example, and you remind yourself of that, then it will be easier to keep it to yourself.
Right. Right. If you have ever told out a story, which I have done, I did early, and then the stories were just gone. There was no need, no passion, no drive.
Yeah, no passion.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that the muse is what gives you that hunger to get words on the page. But your muse is very easily satisfied.
Yeah. I did it one time, and I was 19 or 20. Oh, I think I was 20 because I was living in my first apartment. And I talked to Mark about all sorts of stuff. And we would, talk about writing and talk about story ideas and stuff. But I usually kept it generalized. Mark overshares, and I think he tends to kill off his muse sometimes. But he did say he's working on it. The issue is I told him about probably one of my coolest ideas. Maybe back then I've gotten some really good ones, but it's still something that I would have loved to have written. It was called The Ruby Woo, and I absolutely loved the idea. I was totally passionate about him, and about it, and I told him about it, and he was freaking just overjoyed and overexcited about the concept and everything. And afterwards, it was almost like a writer's block. Like, it was my first time I had ever dealt with a true block on something, but I didn't realize what it was. I just knew, and of course you're saying that it goes to the low point. This makes sense because I continuously tried. I thought maybe I needed more, but the problem was what you're saying. And I actually have it said save the something. It was like a band advertisement or something. And I wrote save the Ruby Woo because that was in my head. That's what I wanted to do. But I realized, and I still have it. I wrote that out when I was 19 or 20, and I still have it. And it's still on my cabinet because nowadays I use it as a reminder to never tell anybody else a story.
Yeah.
Ever. Just to write it out. Even with Tony, I don't tell him the story unless I need help, and then I just give him,
bare
outline points or something. Yeah.
Yeah. See, and this is what happened. You got paid for that story.
Yeah, by his reaction.
Yes.
And then it was done.
Yes, that was it. Your muse got what it was looking for. The payment from a listener, the payment from the audience, which is what your muse wants. It wants to get its story out there. It has this drive to tell. And you got paid. And beep, that's it. Okay, next story.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is a beautiful, beautiful example of that. Okay, so we're unless you have anything extra to add, we're at the takeaway now. Okay.
Yeah, let's go for the takeaway.
So the first thing here is to pay attention to everything in your life, to live inside your skin, to be present, and to appreciate each moment as you live it. And this is very difficult, and sometimes a certain amount of plug for meditation. Just for me, meditation is just breathe in, breathe out. But and count two. Breathe in on one, breathe out on two. That's my meditation. It allows you to be focused, to appreciate what's going on around you a little bit better. And it's very useful as a tool, very useful to to let you see what matters around you, to notice details about people. But that's it. Pay attention. Look for magic in your everyday life. And even look for what you think is normal in your everyday life, but see if you can get a little spin on that. The next thing is to turn your reality sideways. I love fantasy. I love science fiction. And if you take, and I have this thing about mirrors. So I'm going to just do a little example here real fast, where I wrote some novels set in a place called Cat Creek, and I used a mirror. I had a mirror, I hung it on the wall, and I painted it black. And at the beginning of the story, when I was writing the first chapter, I didn't know where this was going. I had covered the mirror with black paint. And I had the main character move back home. This was her house before her parents died. And then it had been somebody else's house for a while, and they had painted the mirror black. And then she moved back, or it had been abandoned, I don't remember which. And she moved back to this small town, and she scraped the paint off the mirror. And she was looking in the mirror, and she saw a green flash from behind her in the mirror, and her skin started to crawl. And there was no green behind her when she turned to look at the back, at the front door, which was what the mirror was, one of those hallway mirrors in the entryway. And the story was built from that moment. From what happens.
Yeah, I really liked reading that too, by the way. It was really well written. I still remember that scene very vividly.
Thank you. That one I got right in first draft. That was almost unchanged. That was the first book in the one where the second book, the redheaded FBI agent drove me over the cliff and cost me 60,000 words twice on deadline.
So that's a good example of just finding magic in the ordinary.
Yes, because she was in a small town. She was in the town that was actually Gibson, North Carolina, that I had moved to someplace else or named something different. I did, but and it was just one of these old houses that I had been in and thought was wonderful and beautiful, and it had a mirror in the hallway. And when I was writing that first scene, for reasons that I did not understand, my muse had put black paint on that beautiful mirror, and I thought, why? And
that was a creepy why.
Yeah.
I know that's not what it was meant, but it sounded really creepy.
Yeah, well, it was really creepy when I found out why. Well, holy crap, that's why? Yeah, I would have painted that mirror over too. You ask, how can this thing live in my fiction? How can a character finish scraping the black paint off the mirror of the house she has just moved into and look up and see a little flash of green in it? How can that be really big? How can that be something special? And it was from answering that question that I got a 3-book series that would have been a 7-book series if my publisher hadn't killed it in 3. So go.
Yeah, and that's something that if you can keep asking questions, you can build an entire work of your career. Because, like, for me, Fulton Hills is nothing but answering questions, asking the right questions, freaking myself out a whole bunch, and answering the questions. And that is what I hope will be my career world.
Yes.
Like you're saying, build a world and work in it. And that's what I want.
That's absolutely it. And the funny thing about this is that the magic in your fiction isn't the big stuff. It is this tiny little thing that you look at and you write it and it just flows off your fingertips. And when you go back through and you read the previous day's stuff as you're getting ready to write your new stuff, you go, what's that? What is that little tiny thing on the floor right there? That little tiny thing in the corner, that one little detail. Why is that detail in my book? Because I don't really remember writing that. But that's something. And it is in the tiny little details that you will find the most amazing questions. And they will give you your stories.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So was that the takeaway? Did you have anything else to that?
No, that was the whole takeaway. Pay attention and look for the magic. Turn your reality sideways. And then how can this little bit of something live in my fiction?
Awesome.
Huh.
Awesome. Okay. Well, as always, if you liked the episode, want to leave us a comment, you can go to alonewithinvisiblepeople.com and leave us a comment. Or if you want to join the community and actually join in the conversation, go to hollyswritingclasses.com. Join the forums. You can create a free account and you get the How to Write Flash Fiction That Doesn't Suck 3-week mini course for free as well. Right. And just join in the conversation, find the podcast forum, come on in and just start talking. If you have any questions about this episode, that's where to go to ask. If you want more information, or if you have your own advice or tips or tricks or anything like that, you can leave them in the forum. We're also on the socials at AIARWIP. That is Twitter and Instagram. We are on Facebook as well, Alone in a Room with Invisible People. I just wanted to thank our patrons, because that is just amazing. You guys don't understand how happy you are making us and how wonderful it is to know that we are, supported by some of our listeners who can support us. And if you are one that would like to, we have 2 different options. You can go to Patreon and look up Alone in a Room with Invisible People, or AIARWIP. And, even a dollar makes a big difference. It's silly to say that, but it is absolutely true. And if you wanted to support us on a monthly basis, that's how. If you want to support us as a one-time thing, you can go to alonewithinvisiblepeople.com. And on the top right, there is a button for support. You can actually pick one of 3 different levels. And of course, we appreciate every single thing that anybody does, even sharing the podcast.
Oh, that's
episodes.
Huge.
Yeah, seriously. So even just a subscription, even if you just subscribe to us on YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes,
yes,
Spotify, just all of the different places, Castbox, that's where I listen to us. If even just subscribing and leaving a like on or leaving a comment or leaving a review, those things are huge.
Those
so
help.
We really, really appreciate every little action you guys are taking. I believe that is it. If you wanted to support Holly's fiction, because again, she's insane and she's writing 3 books, and one of them right now is being shared. Which one is it? Is it the Dead Man's Party?
Oh.
Longview is already done though. Which one are you sharing on your Patreon now?
Oh, okay. That would be Dead Man's Party. And
okay,
yeah.
So Dead Man's Party is being shared on her Patreon.
Yes, and folks,
and probably when
folks are getting 3 chapters. Well, if you're a top level donor, which is $5, you get all 3 chapters for the month. And I'm doing more than that, so I'm falling a little behind. But everybody is going to get the whole book. My $1 donors get 1 chapter. The folks who are doing 2 get 2, and the folks who are doing get 3, plus 1 video of me writing it live, which is a strange bonus, but.
But yeah, so if you wanted to support this crazy woman and her fiction writing, obviously you can go out, you can buy the Longview Chronicles, you can buy any of the books that she has, fiction wise for sale. But she also has her Patreon page, and if you are somebody who is interested in seeing, especially the book in first draft before it gets published, that's something you can, go in there and watch her create. And when she's done with Dead Man's Party, she will be probably sharing the next book. So it's Holly Lisle, it's LISLE at patreon.com. So I believe that is it for today. If you have any questions, concerns, or you want to reach out and talk to us, find us on the forums. We are there pretty much every day.
That's it.
All right.
Yes, thank you. And thank you. Thank you so much for listening. We love talking to you. We love sharing what we're coming up with. And your feedback and your questions and comments are vastly appreciated.
Yes.
Yes, we really like you guys. Thank you.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
You want to write, you love words, you love fiction, but you don't know where to start or how to middle or where to finish? I do. I'm Holly Lisle, and I've been doing this professionally since 1991. And I know how I did what I did to go pro, and I'll be happy to show you what I've learned. Start with my free 3-week flash fiction class at hollyswritingclasses.com.